Hi guys, sorry. As you mentioned, my name is Lyndsay. I'm from Engage Education. Do we have teachers in the room? Yes, maybe? A show of hands? Wonderful. Okay, we've got a few. So what I'll do is I will gear it towards just using social media in general to get a job. But obviously there'll be a little twist with teaching. I am a teacher myself. I'm obviously not Irish, as you can tell by my accent. I'm a Canadian trained teacher. And I worked in the UK for 2 years, and that's the company that I work for now. So Engage Education is an education recruitment agency. We work with over 1,300 schools throughout England, and we help them fill all of their teaching vacancies. That includes everything from teaching assistants, special educational needs assistants, one-to-one support for children, all the way up to a full-time classroom teacher. And one thing that I have sort of noticed, and as we got into hiring teachers and I started to learn how to do it instead of teaching them myself, was that education is an area that is a little bit behind with regards to using social media to hire. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today, but just to give you an idea, I'm going to see if this video will work for us, about why it would be so important. Basically, the idea of the video is that social media is not only important in this day and age, but it is merging with how we communicate with people. And what that means for finding a job is that that is the way you need to do it, and that's the way most companies are doing it now as well. So I am a teacher, so I've laid us out some learning objectives. We're going to find out why social media plays an important role in hiring teachers. We're also going to see the benefits of being an active user on a number of social media outlets, and hopefully know where you can search for jobs online. So that's going to include websites and how to use some social media outlets, effective ways to find job openings, and how to effectively brand yourself, which is really, really important. If you are going to use social media to find yourself a job, you better be putting your best foot forward, because you've opened yourself up to allowing employers to have access to all that information. Lastly, what we will focus on the most is becoming a LinkedIn all-star. So LinkedIn is the #1 way to find a job. It is heavily business-oriented, but we're going to focus on how, really specifically, you guys would brand yourself on LinkedIn to reach employers. So why? Why would you do it? It broadens your search horizons. So creating and molding your online presence will give you insight into and access into a whole range of job hunting resources. It's time and cost effective. So obviously, you're not going to be printing out paper copies of your resume and walking door to door to speak with people. You'll be in the know. So even if you aren't actively looking, using social media to just keep an ear to the ground is really important. It creates a positive first impression. There's a good chance that people could reach out to you, so even if you're not actively hunting, by having your personal brand out there with access to employers, then they could come looking for you. And lastly, obviously, a bigger network of employers for you to draw from. So where are the jobs? Obviously, that's why you're here, and how do you find them? So these are general websites. Indeed would be one of the largest. Employers, recruitment agencies use it to find you. So get on there, get your CV on there. Make sure it is a complete and full CV. Then irishjobs.ie, jobs.ie, very general websites. And then websites for news outlets. So you'd be surprised. For example, The Guardian has a very large network of people who advertise with them. I am a teacher, so we're going to look at teaching websites, obviously. Educationpost.ie, educationcareers.ie, and tes.co.uk. And those are not the only thing. It takes a simple Google to find out what your sector's websites would be. So engineering websites, IT websites, and most importantly, LinkedIn, which, as I mentioned, we will focus on. This is just to give you an example of what you may find and what a lot of websites look like when you first bring them up. This is obviously a teaching-related website, but you can see at the top, you can advertise your post there. So you know automatically that there are advertisers, there are recruiters like myself, there are employers who are posting their jobs on there for you to view. The most important thing I will say with these types of websites, so these websites such as educationpost.ie, you create a profile for yourself. So it may include your CV, your personal details, how to be contacted. It's really, really important that if you take the time to log on to these, that you fully fill out the profile. As a recruiter and as someone who is constantly looking at your profiles, when we see one that's not complete, we just skip right by it. So if you're going to take the time to register on these types of websites, fill everything in completely. And websites like Education Posts, like engineering jobs, they will prompt you. So you'll fill out the information, you'll set up reminders for yourself, and all of a sudden, without doing any work, you're going to start seeing job advertisements come into your inbox. So once you've taken that time to fill it out, maybe a half an hour to fill everything out fully, all of a sudden you don't have to do any more work. You're being emailed with the job opportunities that match what you're looking for. So it takes a lot of the stress out of it. Again, this is another teaching website, but it gives you an idea of what you might be looking for. So save yourself time when searching for jobs. As I mentioned, take the time to initially complete a full profile, set up job alerts on any websites where you can. If you're working with an agency, such as myself, Engage Education, or any type of recruitment agency, it's really important to go onto their website and follow all of their social media outlets. That's going to be where they advertise their jobs. That's where you're going to get the insider information, which we'll talk about in a minute. And then obviously, as I mentioned, it's going to pay off when you start receiving updates without having to go and actively search for them. So social media, a lot of us would be a little bit more hesitant to use social media, to take it out of the social realm and into a more sort of professional area. But if you are going to use it, these are some ideas. Facebook, the first thing you're going to want to do is follow any institutions or company pages. So if you're interested in particular companies, it's really, really important to follow them on Facebook. Find out what they're doing, what jobs are they hiring for. It will give you an insight into their company culture. So if down the line you do have an interview with them, you'll understand kind of what they're all about. After graduation, so some of you may be newly graduated, but it's really important to stay in the groups that you once belonged to, even if you've kind of grown out of that stage of your life. That's where people who are now employed are going to go back and say, oh, there's a job opening at my company, here's the details, apply here. If you're going to go on LinkedIn, which we will go through together, but LinkedIn Jobs is the area of LinkedIn where you will find it. Twitter, same thing, follow people and institutions. I don't know and can't think of a company that doesn't have a Twitter handle. It's what they use to advertise now, so it's really important to find out what they're up to. If you are a teacher, there are some Irish schools who actually use Twitter. They use it to tweet out announcements to their parents, to their followers, so it will give you a little bit of an idea of what they're up to. Don't be afraid to reach out directly to people on Twitter. So you maybe wouldn't message or inbox someone on Facebook. It is what we kind of consider friends and family only, but that's not the case with Twitter. So don't be afraid to private message someone and be like, hey, I saw this job posting you have. Can you tell me a little bit more about it, or how might I apply? It's not out of line at all. Everything you put on Twitter is available for everyone else in the world to see. You can't hide it, you can't delete it, and so people join Twitter knowing that, and it's not a surprise for them to get inboxed in their Twitter messaging. I would say I probably get anywhere from like 6 to 10 direct Twitter messages in my inbox every week. So those would be from people who've seen what I'm posting, seen the groups I belong to, want to know more about Engage Education, want to know more about teaching with Engage. It can really range from any number of things. I post a lot about just international teaching in general, so I often get just random questions from people. Oh, I was wondering if you knew anything about how to get a job in Australia, or things along those lines. So don't be afraid to do that. And then Google Plus would be the last one. It is more of an up-and-coming, I would say, social media outlet, but it is growing because most of us use Gmail now, and most businesses use Gmail. So it will have a lot of company pages. If nothing else, it's a really good way just to keep your ear to the ground about what businesses are talking about. So it's a really good outlet for you as well. I'm not sure how clearly you can see this, but just to give you an idea of what you might be able to find on Twitter, I went into the top there and I searched teacher #job fairy, and hashtag job fairs. Those would all be people looking to hire teachers or advertising a teaching job, or maybe looking for a teaching job who've been tweeting about it. And that goes with almost every sector. Okay, so when you're looking for jobs on Twitter, using hashtags to search is a really good way to do that. And job fair is one of the most popular. I would say a lot of companies would use hashtag job fairy if they're going to be tweeting out about jobs. So if you are going to use those outlets, or you are thinking of connecting your social media to maybe your Twitter, or you're connecting your LinkedIn with your Facebook, or whatever the case may be, it's really important how you brand yourself. We call it personal branding, and it's the practice of marketing yourself and or your career as a brand. So for me personally, I try to put out into the world via my social media that I'm a teacher, I'm a recruiter, I'm interested in creative writing, that I do presentations like this, that I make up from scratch, and all of those things are really important. The founder of Amazon once said that personal brand is what people say about you when you leave the room. So everything is behind their computer, and it's really important how you come across to them. The truth is that most of you already have these social networks and you have an online presence. And the very first thing when you're looking to be hired by someone and you're sitting down in front of an employer, as soon as you leave the room, they Google you. They may have already done it before they invited you in, and they can find you. No matter how kind of quiet you have everything or closed off, it's really important to know that you can be found on social media, so it's good to think about how you may come across. And it's just a difference between consciously molding your branding to suit maybe your needs. So I'm a recruiter, so I kind of brand myself as that. If I was looking for a job and I was on the other side of the token, I may brand myself a little bit differently, so that employers can see that I am actively looking. When you're looking and considering branding yourself on different platforms, obviously Facebook is very personal. It's important to think about that, but if you were trying to grow your network, you would think of having a closer network of friends, university contacts. These are the people that are going to do you a favor. If you need a job and they see on Facebook you need a job, these are the people in your network that might call you up personally and say, hey, saw you're looking for work. So it's really important to stay connected with those people. It is very important, I'm sure you've heard this 1,000 times, to go through and eliminate your sort of unseeable photos or photos from your younger days, because you will be searched. And as I said, if you are coming up to the end of graduation, it's really important to add all of your university friends and colleagues before you finish up. Twitter, on the other hand, is a mix of personal and business, so it's a little bit of both. You can talk about your personal life. Most people tweet out about their personal life, but you also want to stay connected with your industry and what's important. So you might be posting interesting articles, you might be posting opinions on what's happening in the world of education or in the world of IT or new innovations. You can search hashtags, as I mentioned, and you can use them. It's really, really important. You're not going to grow your followers if you're not using hashtags. It's how people will find you. And then lastly, LinkedIn, which is certainly more business-oriented. Your goals would be to reach all-star status, which I'll go through with you today. And you want to make sure you're taking part in groups and group discussions. So we're going to look at LinkedIn. I'm going to go through it like step by step, really, on how you might become a LinkedIn all-star. Just like I mentioned with setting up profiles on any job hunting websites, it's really important with LinkedIn that if you start one up, if you guys don't have a LinkedIn profile already, you go home today and you're like, I'm going to get on LinkedIn. You open it up and you start filling in your information. It's really, really important that you see it all the way through. Don't leave stuff blank. Don't leave out your most current employer. All of those kinds of things are very, very important. And if we come across your LinkedIn and it's not complete, it's not a great first impression. So if you're going to do it, take an hour and a half, and sit down and actually do it. If you are going to start, it's really important. I put that little star at the bottom. If you scan down on your LinkedIn profile, on the right-hand side of the profile, there's a little option that says Notify Your Network. If you don't switch that off, every time you update something, it's going to put on your newsfeed. So it'll be like, my name's Lyndsay, it would say, Lyndsay changed her photo, Lyndsay added this job, Lyndsay added this skill, and it would be a constant rolling newsfeed for everyone to view. So make sure you switch that off before you start editing away. There are a few different things you need in order to reach All-Star status. So one of those things, which is the most simple, is a picture. It should be professional, so try not to take any selfies of yourself. And it could be an action shot. So if it's you standing, delivering a presentation much like this one, or teaching in front of a classroom, that works as well. You need to have a headline. So your headline is kind of like your tagline. It's the first thing people see under your photo. So it's 120 characters only, and it should include your job function and your title. Also, this is how you're going to get searched a lot of the time. So if there are other ways to say the title of the job that you do, for example, educator, professor, teacher, you might want to include more than one. It's how search engines are going to find you, and it's how LinkedIn's going to find you. So if an employer goes and puts in educator instead of teacher, and I didn't have that word in my headline, my profile may not be one of the ones that come up near the top. You have to have at least 3 positions with summaries of your duties to reach All-Star status. So even if you haven't had 3 jobs, this is teacher directed, but you could list the placements where you've had your jobs. If you've done an internship, you can put that on there. But you have to have at least 3. And it's important to write about, make yourself shine in that summary of what you did. Be really detailed. It can be as short or as long as you want, but it should include your duties and give someone an idea of what your daily life looked like in that position. Joining groups is a great way and an easy way to become an all-star. So you can just simply search keywords of groups you're interested in and join them. Participate in the conversations, look at what they're talking about in your industry. It's really an easy way to get to all-star status. You have to have at least 50 connections to become an all-star. So you can see down there on the left, those are the different levels. As you start to fill out your profile, you'll progress and progress, but you have to have 50 connections. As soon as you create your LinkedIn profile, if you don't already have one, it will prompt you to add people you know. So it will look at your Facebook, it will look at your email, and it will prompt you to add people, and you can just simply go through and add people you may want to be connected with. You need to have at least 5 skills to be an all-star. You can add up to 50, but I wouldn't suggest adding 50. I would suggest maybe focusing on about 10 that you feel quite strongly about. Skills on LinkedIn can be endorsed. So how it works is your previous employers, your friends, your colleagues, your university colleagues, they can go on and say, you know what, Lyndsay is really good at social media, or she is really good at teaching or presenting, or whatever the case may be, and they can endorse me. So then when someone views my profile, they can see all the people who've endorsed me and for what. And just a fun fact, there are some really strange skills on LinkedIn, so I wouldn't suggest putting cat herding as one of your skills, but you certainly can if you think you're good at it. Lastly, you need to have a summary. So this is the first thing that comes up under your photo to tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do. It's also generally where most people will put in either, I'm currently happily employed, or I'm looking for new opportunities, so people know what you're all about. Your summary, and if I was reading your summary, I should be able to clearly understand what you do. So in the case of some of you, that you're a teacher, or that you're an engineer, that you're in the IT world, I should know how to contact you easily and through multiple channels. So I would suggest connecting it to other social media outlets. We should know something personal about you or your interests. So do you like to read? Do you love football? Do you volunteer anywhere special? Do you have a family? I should kind of leave feeling like I learned something about you, and that can be something personal. I should understand what you're currently working on right now. So are you searching for a job, looking for new opportunities? Do you have a side project going on that might be of interest to me? What are you all about? And this can also include links to online portfolio. If you have a blog, a website, an online CV, you can link it right into your summary. Then just to make another little note at the bottom, after you've done all of this work on your profile, you're going to want to make sure that your profile is open for everyone to view, okay? You can have a more kind of closed off profile, if you will. You can hold back your photo or things like that until someone accepts you, but I would make it as public as you feel comfortable with. It's the easiest way to be found and to be searched. So now that we've kind of gone through a little bit about the different outlets, what you might do, it's really, really important that you actually use them. There's no point having a Twitter account if you only have 2 tweets out there, or having, like I said, a half-finished LinkedIn account, or to keep your Facebook open so people can search you but have photos that are a little less than appealing. So you're going to want to actually use them. It's a really good outlet. Social media is a really good outlet to brag about yourself in a way that will make employers interested in what you have to say and what you're up to. So even if it's as simple as sharing news or articles, commenting on industry kind of information and what's happening, if you are adventurous and you feel like creating your own content, that's a really good idea too. I know we do have a few teachers, a lot of teachers may have had to create a blog or something along those lines for their teaching placements, get those on there. You can publish posts on LinkedIn, so whatever's happening, you can make your own comments and kind of just contribute in a positive way, or else it's a waste to be online here. If you're looking on LinkedIn of who to add, you don't know what to do, you don't have 50 connections, it's really good to have a mix of personal and professional. Principals, recruiters, all of those people who are viewing your social media outlets want to leave feeling like they know something about you that they didn't know by looking at your CV that you sent them. Okay, so make it interesting, make it fun, but keep it professional. Again, this is a little bit teacher oriented, but share other people's content. That's really, really easy way to go about it. And you don't have to take too much time. You can try content websites. So I schedule up a lot of my social medias to go out. I spend a couple of hours looking through what's important to me, what I'm interested in, and then I use a number of different websites to kind of schedule it. And then it just goes out on its own on whichever sort of platforms I'd like. And then when you are sharing and you are contributing to these websites, just be cautious because it can get very easy to share article after article without really saying anything about them. So if you are going to share something, make sure you read it through, make sure you maybe have something to say or have something to add to that conversation before you go ahead and share it. Does anyone have any questions about LinkedIn or using it or social media in general? No? Awesome. Certainly you can follow us. That's Engage Education there. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and those are our LinkedIn's at the bottom there. I wanted to show you the video from earlier, but I'm not sure if I can. There we go. This is just an ad. coming around this afternoon. If you guys do have any questions, I have some spare time, so I'll stick around at the front. If you want to know about teaching in the UK in general, or really anything, then I'll be around. Thanks.